we hit record, and then we bring up this
We
thing because
made it.
Chrissy hates dead air.
I do hate dead air.
She
We are an
does
audio
hate
show
dead
primarily,
air.
so
yeah, everybody's
dead air,
like,
No.
wait, ding, ding, ding. Is my
not
And it is
great.
radio
legit.
working?
And then he hits share sound, he hits share, and then boom.
Oh, we could see your whole screen.
Bring me everyone. What do you mean, everyone?
Welcome to Everyone Racers.
There's a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture.
It doesn't matter what kind of limit champ
Or Lucky Track Dog League you run.
SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate.
as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself.
Join us each week for tech discussions,
Tips, tricks, as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing.
And whether it's on the spot,
hella sweet.
Or we're lucky enough,
and Chrissy,
and Chrissy,
I give you just the tip.
we're sure you'll giggle a little.
and learn even less.
Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
And I'm mental after
we're
only 13 minutes of fighting with this thing.
It's okay. And if you didn't tell anybody, nobody would know. We are Everyone Racers. Welcome back to a tiny Fiat episode of our show. It's episode 332. The Fiat 500, also known within parentheses, Project 332, is also known as the Fiat 500e is battery electric battery electric car by Italian manufacturer Fiat. It is the new 500 city car is manufactured by the Mier plant in Turin and is sold alongside its conventionally powered Fiat 500, which continues to be manufactured in Tichy, Poland. I don't know. Not driving your little electric Fiat? Get out your bingo card, or don't, because it's not updated. 332, not a whole lot of stuff going on. Sorry, it was a stretch.
I'm actually impressed you found anything, because I started
searched.
last week. Yeah.
Yes, so it's a stretch, but that's okay. Tiny Fiats. Anyway, what you working on? Chris, since we are actually swapped, if you are watching on YouTube, you are realizing that I'm sitting in Chris's chair and he's sitting in a different seat. So where are you? What are you doing?
I'm on Cape Cod right now. I'm watching my dad. His lady friend left to go visit her family in Texas for a little while, so I'm on dad duty.
Yay.
Yep. Brought my whole office, brought everything up here, work for the week, do everything up here. So helping family. I included shoveling some snow today. I had to go buy a snow shovel because none of the houses here on Cape Cod have a snow shovel. I had lots of little sand shovels in a little bucket and, all those kind of things. But that doesn't really do me any
Little
good.
pail with a starfish on it.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
Totally. Got how many of those do you want? I can make a little snow castle, but that's that doesn't do any much good when there's
cute.
six inches of heavy wet snow and 50-mile-an-hour winds today. But anyway, all shoveled now. I did do some civic work before we left, just some bits and things like more on the fire system, making latches for the hatch and fuel release that are not way down on the floor under the roll cage, but in a nice accessible place in the back, and trying to make the glass latch actually work because it was just loose and barely attached when we got the car. So things like that. Yep.
Cool.
Mental, what are you up to?
So I've been traveling. I got in Sunday night, 2 nights ago. Then yesterday was back to the grindstone. After the show last week, I think, I was mourning the passing of Mojo Nixon. Boo hiss. Yeah, right. And then I went on a EV charger rant. So interesting story about that. Our buddies at Mofoco are friends with the programmer who actually designs the interfaces on those EV chargers. He reached out as a representative of Shell and said, I would actually like to know what your problem was and what your user experience was like to make this better. And I'm like, well, that's rather embarrassing because now I have to apologize for cursing your entire company and calling you carpetbaggers. And they found the charger that I ranted about. It's not owned by Shell. It is owned by Duke Energy. And to quote them, ran that past my boss. we're not real happy with them either for not putting a credit card reader in there. So I completely retract my anti-Shell energy statements, and I will now continue to buy Shell petroleum products. It's really good because I love T6 and I didn't want to have to give it up, but I was that mad. And but I will boycott Duke Energy because I'm way out here and I don't have to deal with those guys anymore. So props to Shell Oil for actually giving a crap about some middle-aged guy who ranted on their EV chargers and their customer base. It was actually just kind of shocking that to have someone reach out and do that. And another
So
thing,
it's basically middle-aged man shakes fist at the internet.
Oh yeah.
which
You
is
did
actually
that.
one of the
Got it.
comments on the video that I posted was old man shakes fist at cloud. The other thing last year, my dad, he's helping a local widow. Her husband, departed husband, well, he was like all of us, and he had any number of like 20 projects going when he passed away. And she is trying to like sort through. She has a 71 Ford dump truck, an 82 4x4 Mustangs, all kinds of old Chevys, a Honda Elite scooter. And one of the things on there was a 66 Honda CB77, which somebody pointed out to me, and I had forgotten that I knew this, was the motorcycle in Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And my dad had originally intended to get this one running, but his hands have deteriorated and he can't do that anymore. So I got it put back together while I was back home. My parents took some pictures of it, posted it. I didn't want to blast it onto Facebook Marketplace and just send it out there. So I posted it into a handful of select groups and it was sold in 20 minutes.
Wow, that's fun.
And
I thought you were
I've
going to
got,
say that
and
you
then I've
kept
got
it.
3 other people that have lined up. Hey, if it falls through, let me know. And then the final thank you on that. Today is my birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday!
happy birthday, Rambo.
Happy
Yay!
birthday.
And as I was
39 again.
Yeah. As I was driving an electric vehicle, I spent a lot of time just sitting in the driver's seat of an EV surfing the internet, and Facebook said, hey, your birthday's coming up. Do you want to give to a fundraiser? You know what? Yeah, sure. Why not? So I set up a fundraiser for my birthday for Ranger Road. I've yammered on about Ranger Road. I love Ranger Road. I've seen what they're doing. It's good stuff. I know what they do with the money people give them, and it's awesome. And I just set up the default amount, and within a matter of hours, even before my birthday, it is over doubled what the default was.
Wow.
So everyone that is donating to Ranger Road, thank you all very, very much. I promise you all of that is going to a good source.
Yeah,
So
they do a great job.
They do. So yeah, busy online week of being angry and then being grateful.
That's great. Happy birthday. I mean, it's not great. I mean, some of it's great. Whatever.
Oh, my birthday's great. You should see the stack
Your
of cookies
birthday
I
is-
got. I
Yes.
have birthday cake cookies. Those are
Don't show
amazing.
them.
It's already on our gram. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, I missed it.
It's all good.
She's embarrassed because the sprinkles probably don't look great, right?
But it actually tastes like a birthday cake. It's
They taste good, but they look bad. She was like, oh, I
Oh,
hope
they
he
got
doesn't
shipped
post a picture.
2,500 miles.
That's
So-
true. Yes. And they might have sat over the weekend because you just got them. So sorry, not sorry. But that's why she sent them, because they were going to stay fresh enough until, yes, she was thinking about you. Anyway, so our cat died. Handled that before it got too cold. We were working on planning a trip that's coming up in the summer, and yeah, shoveled some snow. It was really, really heavy. Plenty of it. That might be my just tip this afternoon.
because I was empathizing this morning. There was a
Stop
little
it.
bit of frost on my convertible top.
Stop it.
But it was fine because I drove home with the top down from work.
Me
Yeah.
too. Oh wait, no, I didn't. No.
All right.
All right. Anyway, you have not really heard them, but we have two new voices on the show today. We have Greg and David from Cheesebolt Enterprises. What you working on? Who wants to go first? Greg's here first on the list.
Sure. Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here.
So since New Hampshire, it's been like an opportunity to get caught back up on things that kind of fell by the wayside building the T drive. My oldest son is 10 now, so he helped me do a mechanical revival of a 1970 CJ5 Renegade 1 which is a Jeep from back when Kaiser owned them. So it has a factory Buick Oddfire 225 V6 in it. And so we did brakes, clutch, steering. It runs, it drives, it starts, it stops, it pulls sleds around the yard now. It just doesn't go down the road yet. And
so your 10-year-old kid is restoring effectively like a 50s era Jeep.
so it gets better than that because this is the Jeep that I learned to wrench on when I was 10.
That's
Oh.
amazing.
It has not run since 2000, I don't think. My dad kind of just put it out back and put a car cover over it. So
Oh,
it's really not rusty for being from New Jersey. It could be far worse. It's restorable if I choose to go that route. But we're
Greg's
just
family gets rid of absolutely nothing ever.
no. It's easy to find me things.
I'm mad jealous that as a 10-year-old, as when I was 10, if I was really, really good or really, really bad, my job was to hold the flashlight and get yelled at. Man,
Let me tell you, CJ5s look so much less safe as a parent. And
wow.
It's a 48-inch wide track and an 80-inch wheelbase with a V6 with like fender well headers in it. And it's just like, this is dangerous with a big bus wheel. All kind of popping in to one of our teammates' house. During this past year, he bought a 4th gen LT1 F body that's very lemony. And we did a cage on that, and it turned out really, really neat. It is probably the roomiest cage that I've ever seen in an F body. And but I'm gonna do some pull-ups, so because your feet are way out in front of you in that car, and I can't get my heels underneath me. I'm gonna have to like be working on pulling myself up out of that car as a real race car. And then just this past weekend, Dave came over. I finally started on, there's a theme here. I finally started a roll cage on a car. I inherited it as a bare steel shell in 2004. And I've never ridden in it. I've never seen it complete. I've just had it be a thing in my life for a long time, and now it's going to be a race car. And then
What is it?
Yeah, you're not telling us what it is.
Is it a secret?
Yeah, you'll just have to go to the press conference, I guess. Yeah.
Will there be
No,
more
it's a-
shrimp?
You're going to see it. It's right there.
Oh,
Behold. It's a
Hang on.
64 Ford Falcon.
hold on a second.
Oh.
Hold on a second. He needs to, let me go back to this real quick. Yeah. Hold it right there for the Falcon. Cause I want to make like this,
This is
What a
bad
screenshot.
podcasting.
say
This is
say
bad
something, Greg,
podcasting.
so that your video gets highlighted and then we can see the
Sorry.
picture.
Yeah, technology. So right now it's a V8 car. It was a factory V8 car that was built in Trenton and spent its whole life in New Jersey. So I replaced a lot of metal on it 20 years ago. And I've kind of just, it's been a weight around my neck because I inherited it from a deceased friend of the family that he had a sudden heart attack when he was restoring it. And so it's kind of like his family probably still has a grudge for me for never finishing the car. But
Never finishing it yet.
Yes. But this goes back to Project CSI. This thing was, you could not unbolt anything off of this car at all when I got it. And so it has been a puzzle to me. And I'm just, you know what? If there's no interior, just make it a race car. That's its last
the
best
right
chance
answer.
of doing something.
Yep.
Just
The answer is always Miata and or race car.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And while I'm showing stuff in the garage, the other thing that's been clogging up my life is the tow pig for the race car is waiting on parts. It was supposed to be done 3 weeks ago, and it's not. So, I redid the steering. It needed new rear AC because we still use it to pull like the family camper. And I got some other things like a winch bumper to put on and stuff, but it's up on the lift. And then today we had a snow day, impromptu snow day. And I finally got around to selling off my little stock portfolio I had during 2020 when I was going crazy sitting around the house. I put all my race money in that, and I did not miss my calling as a broker. I didn't lose any money. And I pretty much have ignored it for a year. I'm like, you really need to sell all that stuff and just get that cash back out. Not a whole lot, but it was interesting. I don't like it.
Greg, I'm going to show you how it's done in terms of like investment portfolios. Keep it motorcycle based because that's what I was doing this week. I was putting the finishing touches on a Kawasaki KDX 200 dirt bike that I restored from a a rolling chassis that I found on Facebook Marketplace. I just happened to have the correct engine laying around for the last decade. And the
Convenient.
roller came up, and I was like, well, put 2 and 2 together, and restoring it, and big profit, I'm sure.
You
when
can't
I
afford
sell
not
this
to
spring.
buy it.
You
Because
had the
know,
engine
right?
sitting
It was
around.
an story.
This is
It was
honey, I had to buy that bike. I had the engine sitting around. Otherwise, the engine would just be useless.
Yep, it was meant to be. It was meant to be. What else? Another motorcycle thing. I have a Honda Goldwing. I'm planning on doing some touring when I'm not
yeah?
racing this next year. It's awesome. It is a big pig of a bike, but I bought it used, and it has about 50,000 miles on it. And the interval for changing the air filter is 50,000 miles. Dealer I bought it from, I bugged them. I said, you just did a service on it. Did you do the air filter? They hemmed and hawed and didn't really tell me until after I signed the papers. No, they didn't do the air filter. Okay, well, give me an air filter in the bargain. I'll take the bike. I take the bike. I rode it for a month or two. This winter, I decided to tear into it to do the air filter. I'm 2 hours in, and I almost can see the airbox. It's not just down in the beans. It's like 4 7-layer dip containers down.
So they started building the
beans.
bike with the air filter.
Around it. That's
That was
good
the
because it's
first
a
thing.
consumable
Yeah.
product that you're going to have to
Okay.
change out. It's great.
That is
Here's the
correct.
Good plan.
Just avoid putting fork seals on them. Like, you don't want to work on a Goldwing.
No, you don't.
No.
You don't.
Oh,
You just
God,
ride.
no,
Just ride.
no.
You ride a
you
Goldwing
only think
until
like
it's done.
Honda cars are densely packed. Yeah. You've got a 6-cylinder in a motorcycle. There is no space.
Yeah,
Plus
it's pretty awesome
Cruise
beyond
control and a stereo and a cup holder, like a heated cup
Okay.
holder,
that.
and
Heated seats, heated grips, electric windshield.
What?
The
butt
automatic
massager.
volume control for when you're next
Why
to
not just have a
semi.
car? Then you just get a Miata. This is why we don't have motorcycles anymore.
Oh no, the Goldwing is way more luxurious than a Miata. Everyone knows that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, automatic transmission too.
twist and
Yeah,
go.
I can't. Sorry.
Well, my
Oh,
other
that's
bike
awesome.
is a Honda CB1, which is a tiny little 4-cylinder 400cc sport bike from the 80s. So, it's like the yin and the yang of Hondas.
There is a constant flow of motorcycles through his garage. He literally, I think, made an agreement to buy a motorcycle on the way to New Hampshire, and then was shopping for a different motorcycle on the way home or something like that. Or was it the rally or something like that? He's just constantly buying and selling motorcycles.
Well, life's too short. My bucket list for bikes is very long.
You say that like it's a weird thing buying stuff when you're driving to a crap can race. I mean, don't make it weird, dude.
No way.
The only other part I think is weird is the selling part. I can't get around the selling part. I don't know. Just
Not all of us have the same kind of luxurious storage that you do there, sir.
Yeah.
And,
If I
Right?
had your shop, it would be not good.
Your garage is like as big as our first floor.
Yeah.
I need to
Wow.
get a lift in my garage so I can store vertically. That's what I need.
this was
Good thing.
15 years of working in a stone driveway coming when I moved to this house in 2019. This was a long haul to get here.
Well, looks fantastic.
It does.
Thank you.
Great.
It came with the house.
Convenient.
Right? Ready to
All
go? Okay.
Keep going.
I can't lift my. Is this?
You can lift a little bit. That's okay.
I know. That's why it's weird. Go ahead.
It's fine. Hey, before we get started, some months ago, we posted a link to a GoFundMe for Mike Mier from Team TinyVet. Saturday, an update to his GoFundMe posted a new update. Quote, "We know it's been a while, but Mike received the astoundingly great news from his oncology team that he is cancer-free." So, way to go, Mike. Hope you get back
Rock
out to
on,
the
Mike.
track soon. Well done, sir. Kick its
Yes.
ass.
Pretty much. Cancer sucks. Everybody knows it.
Yep.
Everybody knows it. Okay. Trying hard to stay ahead or even just keep pace with the latest advances in car tech is a tough task for every automaker, but perhaps especially for the legacy German luxury brands. Adam Ismail from The Drive tells us about Mercedes, BMW, and Audi were the de facto global standard of premium motoring for decades until a raft of new players came on the scene and started stealing away from the market. and across the globe. They are each trying to find a unique way to stand out, and Mercedes' solution is perhaps one of the most creative. It wants the cars to be nice and have a chat with. Mercedes Chief Software Officer Magnus Ostberg said, "Our ultimate goal with our virtual assistants is to provide service. It's very different in regions what that service is." Osberg says a publication. The chattiness, just talking, is actually something that our customers in Asia want to have. They don't have a purpose. They just want to have someone to talk to. Mercedes Solutions appears to be offering a range of assistant behaviors to tailor these experiences to expectations around the world. The team has built 4 moods of into the assistant: natural, empathetic, personal, and proactive. And beyond that, the company is interested in using facial recognition and in-car vision to modulate the assistant's attitude to the driver based on the cues that the system notices. So really, we're all so desperate to have friends that we're just going to cry and talk to our cars. Link in the notes.
I like the idea that the car has AI and then starts to learn my patterns, because I feel like after about 2 years, my car is going to be as sarcastic and bitter as I am.
Yeah, but don't you want an empathetic guy if you don't to talk back to you when you're bitter and they say, "Mental, it's okay."
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. I want my car to agree with me. Und ja, that guy is a Subaru is totally a Dummkopf. You're correct, Mental.
I was so bothered by this article that I had to like calm myself down, because I drive like I drive a 90s Mercedes diesel every day, but then I realized like I am not their target market, because I've never bought a new car and I will never buy a new car, and my Mercedes cost $2,000 4 years ago. So I just let it go, and I've accepted that in 10 years, all cars will be electric roller skates with emotions stacked on top of them.
I wonder what a 90s Mercedes diesel would sound like if it needed to talk to you.
This news item makes me think of 2 things: the Joaquin Phoenix movie Her, and the Queen song "I'm in Love with My Car." So I'm wondering if trading in the car at the end of a lease is going to be like a breakup. I don't know.
Not Christine. Doesn't remind you of Christine?
Oh, Christine.
Germans,
I guess it could be a good
I've
trading
heard
in could be a good thing.
Your car like starts dropping hints. Say, they've got new lease offers over at the Mazda dealer. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
We
You come
just
back
need
from a
some
race.
time apart.
You come back from a race and she's like, "I heard you were with that worn out slut all weekend.
How'd
How'd that feel? We're not going to work today."
Now, when you get a new,
Careful
you get a used car. Right now you have to deal with, let's see what kind of radio presets they had and what I'm going to find under the seat. Now who knows what kind of personality the car is going to have a result.
Right. Yeah. Your car now comes with emotional baggage.
Right.
I have to take my car to therapy on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah. I don't like that our Mercedes tells me that I should take a break.
all the time.
Beeped at me.
And it
like a cup of coffee. I'm like, no, shut up.
It has a sudden like ding ding alert. You should take a break. And you're like,
and I've turned it off and it keeps turning back on. So
do you realize how fast you've been driving?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Or, that's going to suck when I buy that car, because it's going to be over here going, I used to live in a garage. Why am I out in 117 degrees? No, this doesn't work for me. No.
It's too hot. I'm just thinking about the car when I drive it, and then when Chris gets in it, the car is like, "You can do it, Chrissy. Yes, you can. You're going to be great." And Chris gets in the car, you're like, "What is happening?"
But at the same time, he's in a good mood. He feels like he could totally do it. He can take it on.
Yeah.
You see your emotional support car. You're bringing out a plane.
Oh, all right. Hey, you guys remember Hamburglar?
Sure.
McDonald's remembers Hamburglar. And for their latest promotional efforts, the prison outfit festooned burger napper has going cross country. And now, while the Wienermobile certainly has style, the notorious criminal needs a little more panache. So they have the Burger Ruda, which is a 70 Cuda done up white and black, paint job, matching seats, custom Hamburglar headrest. The center console is actually a burger warmer. If you click on the link in our show notes, it's kind of cool.
No.
Stefan Lombard at the Drive writes about the other
No.
burger loving details, such as the bun hubcaps, a spare tire that looks like a huge cheeseburger, and Hamburglar's only decipherable sound, robble, 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 is the vanity plate. It's found on the hood scoop. It's on the sides. And the entire stunt is this car is going to be traveling across country. And if you see it, you can scan a code and you're going to get free stuff like gift cards and Hamburglar swag. But in the new E1R contest just announced right now, the first listener who gets an E1R sticker on that car and post it on social media will receive from me a bottle of Don Julio 1942. I am not
that
kidding.
stuff is delicious.
From what Chris can remember, this is always very tasty.
Hey,
So-
same for you, sir. You don't even remember the first bottle you had at our house.
I
Yes.
really miss all the fast food burger restaurant contests from the 80s. What happened to all those?
Mm.
I remember there was one for Atari. I remember there was a promotion for Vidal Sassoon. And I remember we
You're-
all had to,
You might
we
be
all had to-
aging yourself here, sir.
Oh yeah.
Shut up.
certainly am.
That's fine.
Does anybody even know who Herb is? I don't know where Herb is. Do you remember
I
Herb?
remember the Herb at my Burger King got stolen so many times they had to start threatening to call the cops on people.
So back to this article, I think they're trying too hard. I think that it's why?
It's a cool looking car.
Yeah.
I still thought the Hamburglar got canceled.
Hey, recidivism, it's a bonehead name, but you still got to give him, he's paroled. He's got a new lease
Hey,
on
he's
life.
done his time.
Yeah. Don't judge him.
This time.
All right. He had an addiction, man. You don't know.
Yep.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Okay.
addictions.
Speaking of addiction, speaking of Miatas, I searched around Racing Junk just to see what's going on, found some fun things. I stumbled upon this 1991 Miata. It used it as a track day card, apparently was on the cover of September 2023 GRM. I didn't realize this. And funny that we know the owner, and I didn't realize that. So I wasn't trying to pimp somebody else's car, but it worked out that way. So that's great. It has
And he sent more than one picture.
No, because
no, he doesn't.
despite the dishwashing fairy knowing that he knows us, knowing that we've got a pro account, and we would have given him all kinds of space to advertise this fine machine, he did not fork out for that Racing Junk Pro membership, which is just sad. But
That's why the car hasn't sold yet. Come
Yeah,
on.
Apparently,
that's why.
because I can only
one
see
picture.
a rear view of a crappy painted car.
There's so much
Yes,
potential, but there could be so much hidden in an early Miata.
you are absolutely right.
Yeah,
but we know the owner, so it's probably okay.
You've met Steve. Steve ain't hiding
So
anything.
this
Oh,
is
yeah. And Steve obviously
I'm
didn't build
angry
this
because I can't
either.
fit in it.
What's
angry.
you talk about scary algorithms. When I was at my parents' house, I got on Facebook Marketplace because, that's what you do. And it also immediately, suggested for you his Formula 500 car that I went and scoped out for him here in Las Vegas, and he had shipped to Georgia, and now he's getting rid of. And I like, wait a minute, that car looks really familiar. And texted
Your
me, he's like,
Mercedes
yeah,
guy,
I'm trying to
yeah.
get rid of it.
crazy.
Well, that looks like an amazing deal, smoking deal.
Totally.
It was $4,000 for the car in Georgia. All kinds of fun things come with it. If you are actually interested, let us know because we know the guy.
Yeah, and
and
that's
here-
not even the racing hardtop. That's like a legit Miata hardtop, like the expensive
Yeah, that's worth money.
one. Mm-hmm. Totes.
What were you going to say, Chris?
I would say to tell us more about the car. We've said it's a Miata,
Oh.
and he only has one picture. But what else? There's all these nice things here.
I already scrolled down to the next part.
Fine. It's got a 1.8 swap.
Thank you.
It's got an eBay turbo kit that made 260 wheel horsepower. It's got an EFI standalone, a Torsen rear diff. It's got some sticky tires, new pads and rotors. I think it has a bolt-in roll bar. Somebody built this for the GRM challenge originally.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep. This
Yeah.
is a little more car than Steve can maintain, I think. But if you
Mhm.
like to tinker and want something that's just silly, this is a great way to go. And it's cheap.
And it's been posted a while. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. Recent results. Sorry, I did all these and didn't change colors, so I'll keep going. Lemons Rally was in Virginia for the Clunkers Rally. They just posted all this information. So winner on points was Bunch of Idiots in a Peugeot 505 diesel. Ooh. Second on points was the WRC Chumps in a Mazda Protege. Third on points was Dispatch Racing in a Volvo 240 Pursuit. Org Choice went to Team Gray Market in a Mercedes Unimog. Random Acts of Stupidity went to Your Time Starts Now in a Porsche Boxster. Judge's Choice Deadheads in the Mercedes 240D. And the rental class car went to Rodmaster in a Buick Roadmaster Turo.
That Unimog must have been a tough drive.
Oh, Unimog is for the
He
Unimog for the win.
he said it had a Stobbs actually reached out to us. He said this thing had like a top speed of like 60.
45.
Yeah, exactly. But they just absolutely trundled through it. They broke 6 cars on this rally, like permanently. Folks that did not finish. This was an unusual one, including the Morris Minor that showed up with a rod knock.
That's a great way to start a
That's
rally.
not great. No,
It'll get better. It's fine.
It'll get better.
Fine, so fine. And Jeff goes,
turn up the radio.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff goes, is there any oil in it? And the guy's like, yeah, I checked it a couple of days ago. It's got oil. Didn't make it to the first checkpoint.
Oh, that's sad.
Sad
But
trombone.
you know, that is like a full up gonna lick the stamp and send it approach to Lemons Rally. You should check out all of these photos. Here is a family that actually did the Alaska rally. Hold on, I got to get to the picture. There it is. They did the Alaska rally, and then they came back and reunited to do it in this Mercedes diesel. So you can just see like there's some awesomeness back there.
Well, we went through the list of cars that were all amazing.
They
some
really,
vans.
really were.
It was mostly interesting, and vans. That's what it was.
Yeah. And these are like these guys left the top down on this Porsche the entire time and dressed like that for the entire rally. And if you're watching this, they are basically
all in black leather. They're German.
The German. They are the Technopolizei, and they would look exactly like you'd expect them to look. You need to do a Lemons rally if you haven't done when they are. It's impossible how much fun those.
I really love them. Dave and I both love them.
I wonder if they know about my salts.
We just finished the Rust Belt Ramble in my rusty Mercedes. When I saw this one posted, I wanted to do it so bad, but it just didn't fit into the calendar this year. But I love it down there in that Virginia area, and I would love to do it in a early post-war car done up like a moonshine runner.
Nice.
That's it.
Bonus points if you run on E85 the whole time.
Ooh, bam.
Yeah.
Oh, theme idea from the top turnbuckle. Well done, Chris. That's
This will be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the next one is the
it's on
California is for clunkers. It's the
nope.
Nope.
Scroll up slightly. And there you go.
It's right there. March 20th to 24th is Route 66.
Yes. And I can't do that one because that's my busy season, but I'm hoping to meet I'm going to drive down to Laughlin, which is just about an hour from here. If I don't have to work that night, and say hi to the rally participants, because that's as close as they're going to get to Las Vegas. So.
Cool. Not a whole lot of racing for now. So that's all we got. It's listener feedback time.
All right. We had a lot of folks sharing their in the zone experience. We talked about flow state in the last episode. So Carlton S said, terrible and hilarious. My most memorable flow state was Thompson in the sweltering heat being absolutely cooked the whole time. It was an uninterrupted 2.5 hours with just some water and a relatively dialed in car. I think it was the day one anchor shift. So we were gaining places back and there was always someone to hunt down. He also added, damn it, Mental, show off my Porsche bench cup holder, which Chrissy, can you bring that up on the show notes?
I can.
And hit the share screen.
Got it.
Yes. So these Porsche cup holders, they have to mount them on the seat rails. So they're like these really nice billet aluminum, expensive things. And he just managed to come across a pair of them. And on his welding desk, there it is. He's got them right on his welding bench, which we had an extensive conversation. Always text me pictures of your junk. That was a junk pic that I got. It was awesome.
Amazing.
Really a big gulp.
No, is it Germans? That's too
No.
much.
Too
You do not
much.
need that
Too
when you're
much.
driving.
You do not need that much soda. It's not good for you.
As
No.
the owner of a 90s German car, you know how terrible their cup holders were from that era, if
Pretty
they even
much.
had them.
So
Yes.
complex. For a cup holder,
They're
so
they're gorgeous designs. They just do not perform their basic function, which is to
Until
hold
they
it up.
break off. Yeah. The Boxer didn't even have one. No, they just like,
No,
no.
we just
No.
put one in.
Yeah, my 944 didn't have one either, and I bought one of those car parts store little plastic ones that hooks on the
Oh,
window.
they hook on the
rail.
window? Nice.
Awful.
Yes.
Yeah, coffee fell in my lap twice a day. Twice a
the
day.
lawnmower cup holder.
Yep.
Yes.
I had an E46 BMW, the center console cup holders right there with like the 4 little spring mounted things. And I kept forgetting this until about the 5th time it happened. But when I would drink the coffee to a certain point, it would just eject it. It had achieved enough lightness to where I
Oh.
could just throw it up in the air and it would land in my lap.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's great. Cool. Oh, is it my turn? I'm just enjoying the
Yes,
cup
it
holders.
is.
Sorry,
I'm just waiting for you. Yes.
AJ said,
yes.
"Hey, I feel like Chrissy's warnings on the evils of compressed air will go over well with the general public, about as well as Ralph Nader's views on the Corvair. Everyone loves the compressed air."
No.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can love it until it
close your
gets.
eyes. Just close your eyes and
Safety
tell everyone
squints.
else to also close their eyes.
That's half the battle.
I'm gonna have to say that my wife is also a safety person, so I'm gonna plead the fifth on this.
Your wife is a safety person? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
She works in
Oh.
record manufacturing.
Oh, let's talk. Okay. Anyway, right. I'm sure we could swap some good stories. Okay. And because he's always good for a thoughtful comment, our buddy Mike K told us, my biggest in the Zen moment racing lemons was one of the monsoon races at Joliet. We had run at least two of the plus a couple at Gingerman in a 3-year period. So I had to really learn both the track and the specific advantages of the Dustbuster had when there was running water across the braking zone on the rear straight. It was decent field for G-Man with about 90 cars, and most were moving much, much slower than in the dry. The van barely slows down for 2 reasons. It's traction limited, accelerating out of corners, dry or wet, and the amazing C5 Corvette brakes coupled with about 70-30 weight distribution, barely changing our braking markers, which happened to be in the only part of the straight that was not running water. After 2 laps of getting my rhythm, I snapped off fully controlled 4-wheel drifts through 2 different corners every lap after passing multiple cars on the inside that had started braking at marker 4. Best 90 minutes of racing I ever had. It's good story.
Lots of people humbled by a Dustbuster van that day.
I have a secret trick to getting into the flow state.
Oh,
2 words. 3 words.
Ooh. Boop, 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 doo, 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 doo.
Crystal meth. No.
Works every time. Flamin' hot Cheetos. Flamin' hot Cheetos. That does it every time without fail.
Whatever works for you, man.
Okay,
yeah,
good,
right.
But
What?
draw that
While driving?
connection. Get me from
Yes,
flaming
while
hot
driving.
Cheetos to I don't question this, but I'm curious to know how you get there from flaming hot Cheetos.
Oh, well, you eat them before your stints. And you leave a little bit of the hot powder on your fingertips. And it gives you better tactile sensation.
Sounds flammable.
It does sound flammable.
It works great. It works great.
Don't
Oh
touch
wait,
your
no,
eyes.
I only do this on road trips. It's not for racing. This is if you want to get in the flow state on the Merritt Parkway. You eat flaming hot Cheetos. That's what you do.
Okay. Now for a road trip, flaming hot Cheetos, the only state I'm going to end up in is a state of crying, because invariably I'll be about halfway through the bag and then I was so happy when She-Hulk came out and I learned the chopstick trick about eating flaming hot Cheetos so that you don't get get it on your fingers. Yeah. That
This is so much.
So I did
Oh.
want to personally deliver some listener feedback. And just
Sure.
say, kudos on your
Firsthand.
recent topics for the past few months. Our team's been listening since we started in this. We all slowly, picked it up, and all of your practical how-tos and system analyses and car construction and track walks really, really helped get us ahead of where we would have been on our curve. But some of the more recent, like conceptual philosophical topics really sync with where we're at as a team right now, as far as burnout and projects and just looking at all the stuff that's around. Like half these bikes back here, I didn't buy. They were like, people gave it to me and said they have first right of refusal if I ever want to sell them. And I'm just a caretaker for other people's projects. And I struggle with burnout all the time. I'm sure Dave does too. And this most recent project really pushed us to the limit. So it felt like you were speaking directly to us, and I appreciate it.
We were.
You're welcome.
We were talking
We
right
were.
to you. No, you're welcome.
Or about
But
us.
your most recent
Maybe that
project,
too.
that's an excellent segue into Chrissy.
Main topic time.
I was trying to add something add something real quick before we moved on to main topic time. It got
Oh.
taken off the notes.
Well, you can still add it now.
I did.
Oh goodness, yes.
Matt-
As mentioned earlier, thank goodness I always have this happen, because otherwise I'd forget my birthday. But a box shows up at my house every year, and even Vicky is like, "Oh, is that the cookie delivery?" So
Ooh.
yes. So as always, you know who never sticks a flaming hot Cheeto in her eye?
I'm pretty sure she's not a fan. No.
So thank you for the birthday cookies very, very much, Chrissy's mom. And hello, Jen, and hello, everyone else, all the other family members who listen.
Thank you.
Okay. David,
Now we can move on to
you
main
know,
topic time. Main topic time.
I don't know. I think David did it better, honey. So
I know. I'm sorry. I was typing because it got moved off the notes, and I just want to
Uh-huh.
move on. I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you. You're
The key is
hired.
Get close to the microphone, but
I
don't
know,
yell
right.
too loud.
Well,
Yes,
in the
I
living
keep
room,
telling
when she's
you
downstairs in the
this.
living room, we get a really good acoustic echo off
And
of
now
the
I'm
high
not.
ceiling.
And if I
Yeah.
do this, I don't think
Alright.
you can hear me. So I'm
No.
I'm off my game because I'm not in my normal place. Okay. All right.
Anyway, hi, I'm David from Cheesebolt Enterprises.
Hi, David.
And we're a South Jersey team. I'm from Medford, and everybody else is from the surrounding areas: Southampton, East Hampton, West Hampton, any of the Hamptons. Right, Greg? Is that right? One of the Hamptons?
That's
You're
where our
sort of near
partner
there.
from, that area.
Yeah.
But then
So three of us met through our enduro motorcycle racing club, South Jersey Enduro Riders, and Greg brought two other guys, Ron and Kevin, from his past as a drag race car builder. He'll tell you more about his 79 Mustang with a 500 horsepower 2.3 Lima.
it needs to go on
and-
anything junk for sale.
Oh, we know
And-
how to help you with that.
Yeah. And one other guy on our team, Adam, he's an Army buddy of mine from way back. But we all kind of knew what Lemons was from, I guess, the Car and Driver article back in 2010 or whenever it was. And we all got to talking and thinking, hey, Lemons sounds like a pretty good deal. So we went and we spectated at New Jersey in 2016. We kind of had the intention of building a car over the next 2 years and maybe getting on board for 2018. And we just got so jazzed up by seeing that first race. We're like, all right, we're buying a car this weekend and we're going to build it and we're going to be here in a year. And we were. We ran our first race at NJMP in 2017.
And that was with the first blue Focus, right?
That's right. Our first Focus. We're now on our second Focus, but yeah, that was the first one. And
Third focus. Or eighth focus. I'm not sure what.
Okay. I've owned 6 Focuses. It's okay. Everybody calm down.
You don't even have to admit that. We're not even going to hold it against you.
No kink shame.
Right?
Yeah, right,
No.
right. But we've run most of the Northeast races over the past 5-6 years, and we're at 20 plus at this point. And We did a couple of Chemp car races at VIR, one successfully, one not so successfully. We blew up one of the focuses at that race, but yeah, it's been great. The team we've managed to hold it together despite me asking them to race a horrible Ford Tempo, which we'll get to in a little bit. But it's been good.
Sir Jackie Stewart disagrees with that initial assessment of the Focus.
It really is
Tempo,
it's a real driver's car. I think that's what he said. Direct quote.
Yes,
Excellent.
it's a real driver's car.
Okay, Greg.
So
what's your...
I live a little further north than Dave, but I'm still in South Jersey, technically, I guess. And I had an interesting upbringing where my parents literally moved down to the middle of the field and built a house, and they still live there, right up the road from me. And I was one of the first people in my family to go to college. And I travel over the world, and I ended up back here. I'm really happy to be back here. A really big influence. The only reason I'm mentioning this is because I don't think I could have done this had I not been raised around my dad's father, my grandfather. He was a Navy machinist in World War II, had kids late. This is the kind of guy in the 1920s, as a 12-year-old, bought a crashed airplane and would taxi it around a farm field with his friends, and they would start it up, which is amazing for any time that they were able to get away with that. And like when he stopped being a machinist, they shut down his 100-foot lathe that he operated, and it was never operated again because he did things that just didn't exist anymore. And when I would go over there, unfortunately, we never really synced up. By the time I was understanding the things he was involved with, he was a experimental airplane builder, experimental engine builder as a hobby. He was starting to get like a little unpredictable, though. I know there's a couple times like an airplane engine got away from him in the backyard in Willingboro and stuff. But he was back then he was he built a plane that had a Volkswagen engine cut in half to make it a 2-cylinder air-cooled engine, and he flew it. He had Wankel rotaries before they were cool, and he would make homemade radial valve piston engines and stuff. And I just remember seeing all that stuff. And the reason I mention that is because had it not been for seeing the things that he did, I would have not had the confidence to take on building the T drive we're going to get to, because it was so far outside of the wheelhouse. When we built the Focus, we were, so calculated and eggheadish about trying to figure out what car we want to race. And, this really pushed the envelope for what we thought we could do. Professionally, I'm a physical therapist. I work with very disadvantaged kids up in Trenton. And that kind of parallels this well, because I try and find kids that are looking for power, wheelchair mobility, switch access, and I get to use my mechanical skills to help them be more physically able.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's crazy.
Cool. So some of your racing experience, did you guys race anything before you started with this whole Lemons thing? I know, Greg, you were a drag racer, I think, and obviously the motorcycle stuff, but tell us some more.
Other than Dave, I don't think a single member of our team, our current drivers, had ever even been to a road course before 2016.
Yeah,
So
and for me, it was like 2 track days, but prior to that, I mean, okay, yeah, I did 2 laps on the Nürburgring. 2 as a driver, and one. This was in my super janky 85.5 944 that I'm sure it needed ball joints, and the rotors were warped or pad transferred horribly. And all I remember is that a guy in a Golf, like a 2nd-gen Golf, was hounding me through the first several corners on my first lap. I let him go by, and there's 2 toddlers turned around backwards in the back seat, looking over the back seat at how slow I was. That guy's carrying his inside back wheel and just walks away from us.
They're like, oh, this is my weekly, trip around the Nürburgring, or they're going from their house in the middle of the ring to, preschool over there. So don't beat yourself up.
That was when I was in Germany with the Army, and that was my very first taste of track driving. And then I did.
They were German children, so they were probably drunk anyway.
Yeah, right.
The Kinder.
But yeah, we both raced dirt bikes. We're in an enduro motorcycle club, and it involves riding in the woods for 100 miles over the course of 8 hours at not necessarily at a breakneck speed all day, but by the end of the day, you can't lift your arms, you're barely able to steer the bike, and just finishing it is an accomplishment. We did that for 10 years pretty regularly.
So before I came along, my dad used to do that. He had an old one of those bread box vans, the Ford vans that look like the Mystery Machine, and him and my godfather would throw their Husqvarnas and that, and they would drive to southern Georgia or somewhere in South Carolina, and get there just in time on Saturday morning to make the start. And these are iron frame dirt bikes, and then usually like halfway through the day, give up, go back to the van, drink beer, then drive home on Sunday. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
There's the movies right there.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
Nowadays we ride a few times a year. I haven't raced in years, and what they say in the dirt bike and motorcycle community is that with age comes the cage. So that's why lemons happened for us.
That is a fine answer.
Hey, at least you're thinking not like our friend Bruce, who decided to go out and shatter both his ankles twice.
Twice.
Exactly. Repeatedly.
Right.
It won't happen again. After a bone breaks, it's even stronger. Yeah.
Dave and I got away with a lot. We mostly escaped unscathed, but every race had close calls.
Yeah.
And there was 18 races in the season, and I was never home, and it was tough on household life, just being away all the time.
But it sure was cheap by comparison.
Oh,
True.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
You got excellent health care. It's cheaper. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's that. You gotta have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys Dave, you want to cover any of your details you got here?
Say it again.
You want to cover any of your details you have here?
Oh, you mean like what, the big crash at Lightning? Or okay.
Talk about racing, the focuses the first couple of years, like what you learned, how it went. It's like that.
We sort of seesawed between a really great car and a really bad car to start with. We totally cheated with our first car. We overspent. We spent like $3,500 for an 03 ZX3 Focus. And it was so nice. It only had like 40,000 miles on it. It had already had the interior stripped. It came with a bunch of great cheaty suspension parts. And it was so good, but we had no idea what we were doing.
And so you guys dominated as a result, right?
Right?
Oh, absolutely, we did. We got 50 penalty laps on our first race, and
did you really?
With a 130 horsepower engine.
Yep, we had the stock 130 horsepower Z-Tech. Yeah, and we got 50 penalty laps. That was Judge Steve, I think.
Oh yeah, because that's I truly enjoy Steve. He gave me some of my best racing advice ever. But yeah, Steve was a bit of a sadist. New team, I'm going to give you 700 penalty laps just to see if you're tough enough to come back to the next race. Yeah, he crushed us in a I think we got 20 laps at a 1.6 liter Miata that I bought out of a police impound lot.
Yeah, we were offered A class with 0 laps or B with 50. And we decided to take B with 50, and we kind of chalked it up to, all right, these are the new guys. Let's hit them with 50 laps and just see how big a dick they are, and just kind of like a litmus test to see, all right, are these guys going to be a problem all week, or are they going to take this and roll with the punches and just be fine?
Trying to climb out of that hole. That's what that's probably what you did all weekend.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was a great car. We ended up getting an SVT engine for it eventually, and we turned it into a pretty quick car. But then New Jersey in 2019, a particular BMW driving
Hang on just a second. We have this.
Oh yes, yeah.
This is great audio.
It's great audio. So
Yeah, here we go.
just
Yep.
just
Wow.
over the hump right there,
It wa-
headed towards
Yep,
the
just
Let
bridge.
to
over
let
the
them describe it. They were there.
Yep, just over the hump. I'm behind the wheel, and this is the high-speed sweeping right-hand turn 6 NJMP Lightning. Oh, look, there was a car totally in the grass on my inside, and takes us both into the guardrail.
Oh.
I guess when the accident started, we were doing about 85. I think he was probably doing about 95, and yeah, and he plowed straight into the Armco, bounced out, and right in the exact same spot that he hit, I planted the nose of the Focus in probably about 50 miles an hour. And yeah, that was the end of the day for sure. And it ended up being the end of the car as well. The whole front end was kind of parallelogrammed off to the side. And you know, that was it. And we decided, okay, well, we might be able to rebuild this car with a whole front clip. But we thought, all right, that's a ton of trouble. Maybe we'll just search for another car. So
That was a brutal, like one of the worst, like awful dickish passes I've ever
I
seen.
It
know,
really was.
right?
If you watch that video, which we will link in our show notes, you can actually see them in your outside mirror coming in on the grass. And it was just one of those, what
There-
are you actually thinking?
Why? Why?
Why?
And the
Why?
track is
There's
pretty
one right
wide
there.
there. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the
Yeah,
mirror
that's-
right there on the wall.
go
Yeah,
over
there's
there.
Wall art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in retrospect, I looked at the videos very carefully, and I saw several sets of tire tracks following the same path that he had already done. So I think on several laps in a row, he was taking that line. He was keeping 2 on the curb and the other 2 in the grass. He was
That's
passing a bunch of people.
Crazy.
And it was kind of in a blind spot between 2 flagger stations. So they couldn't see where he was doing this. And I think he succeeded for several laps until he didn't.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I like your perspective on that though. You're you know, we can make all the jokes, but you're not painting it in an evil light. It was, you know, look, they done it the last 5 times and it worked.
It worked with Spec Miata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we kind of wrote the car off, and we were kind of deciding, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I got an email from S&W Race Cars, like literally just days after the race, the week following the race. I got this email from S&W Race Cars. There's kind of a local race shop, and they do pre-bent roll cage kits. That's where we got our original roll cage. And they said, hey, your new roll cage is ready. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I did not order a roll cage. And they're like, yeah, your Dave Eckel is a roll cage for a Focus. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, it turns out a couple of very, very generous Lemons racers who shall remain nameless, but their initials are Momrath Racing and Florida Man Racing, managed to order us a roll cage, which was just amazing. We were so blown away by this act of generosity. It was amazing. It just felt so good, the camaraderie that we've accomplished with Lemons, and how someone could see clearly wrong was done to us, and they all chipped in and bought us a cage. I was just bowled over, and sort of in honor of that, we decided to build a car and have it ready for Connecticut 6 weeks later. So yeah, I found a super hoopty ZX3 in South Jersey, and we managed to build that thing in 6 weeks, and we got it
so
to
gross.
Connecticut.
So gross.
Sticky change and all.
Oh,
yeah.
drug paraphernalia, sexual aid.
Oh. No.
Mom said the car had to go.
Right.
Because there's
That's
evidence in there that could link me, and I've got a trial date coming up, so it's got to go. Yeah.
Cool.
But that's the current Focus. We're still running it and still building it, and we're getting to the point where it's almost fast. I mean, it's kind of fast.
Yeah.
We're to the point, like if certain people don't show up or certain people break, we maybe could get Class B.
If only we had the fuel capacity of a Mazda 3, we'd be doing way better.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what it would take.
It really is nice. Yeah, I should work on that because actually I've had some good times running with you guys and just seeing how much faster you guys have gotten over the years compared to when I just would go right by, and now it's now we're actually having a little race here.
Which better trendsetters too, because
yeah,
Focuses are like the it cars. These Focuses are the new Civics.
They have a couple of inherent design flaw issues, but once you overcome those, they're really quite good.
Yeah.
We I don't know. There's a whole lot of discussion that went into before we chose a Focus, and a lot of it simply came down to fitting all the drivers in the car. We had almost like a 1 foot range and 100-pound range between drivers, and it just that tall greenhouse just fit everyone, and they were available. The Hondas at the time the prices were kind of, unless you got a much older one, you couldn't find a good Honda. But it's been a good car. It's changed my opinions of front wheel drive. It's amazing how well it handles. But
I do want to hear how you arrived. And maybe I'm jumping too far ahead because I'm having to keep my notes with 5 people on the screen and my notes are on a different computer. But I do want to hear we've got this new upcoming, fast appreciating, very capable car, handful of design flaws, but everyone knows how to fix them. They can be made fast. So let's go get a tempo.
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
I do want to say, as a shout out to the rest of our team, we have a great team, and everyone brings more to the table than they take. And it's been neat seeing everyone grow. Because it's got a point now where at the end of a race, if we don't pay attention at times, it's a coin flip of who's going to have the fastest lap because everyone has grown together as we've done that. That said, I don't believe we ever asked the other guys if they wanted to race a tempo. And I know for a fact we kind of didn't tell them we were putting 2 motorcycle engines in one.
Yeah, for sure. That was
no
a
problem.
Surprise.
There was definitely
That
a
was
point
a
in there
surprise.
where we said, this is what we're going to do. And they slowly all backed into the hedge. And but that's fine. They did that Camaro while we were messing around with this nonsense. And
you raced over a couple years as a tempo, like Jackie Stewart livery and all, doing tempo things, right?
Yeah. What was the one at pit race where you had to
cycle the key?
You turned it off on the straightaway and then started.
We figured that out on Sunday. All Saturday we were just limping around the track. It was so slow. We would go out and for the first lap and a half, it had all 86 horsepower that a fine 87 tempo would have. And then it would drop to like 30 horsepower, just barely enough to limp around the track. The big hill at the back part of pit, we're just crawling up that thing. And then on day 2, Mike realized, hey, if you cycle the key off and on the back straight, you get full power for like another lap and a half. So he started doing that. And he knocked like 30 seconds off our lap times.
Not only that, but it allowed us to keep getting up the hill at Pittsburgh. Because if we couldn't get up the hill, we come over the hill and they have the yellow flag and they're trying to figure out whether they should throw it or not. That whether you're going to make the hill.
Are you broken or are you actually racing?
30 miles an hour over the hill at Pittsburgh. 30 miles an hour until we figured out the key trick.
When they did the full course yellow for lunch, we ended up having the entire field stacked up behind us because the Hagerty E30 guy came up to me while I was going up the hill and he was like, keep going, go faster. And I'm like, I can't, this is
I'm trying.
I know, like the entire field was stacked up behind us. And just before the green flag went, I had the bright idea, okay, why don't I pull into the pits and just let everybody go by?
That's probably a good idea because everybody's already mad at you.
They're about to go by and much less politely once the green flag goes.
Yeah, right. But unbelievably, the car held together the whole weekend, that first weekend at pit. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. And we ended up with IOE, which was fantastic. That was kind of what we were hoping for. The exhaust was falling off, all the shocks were blown. It was barely holding together, but we got IOE, which was awesome. We ended up racing it again at Connecticut, and we actually made a run for Class C at Connecticut. We had cut the springs. We put a rear sway bar on. Believe it or not, Jegs has that part listed on their website. a rear sway bar for a
Wow.
Ford Tempo. I ordered it. It showed up. It fit. I couldn't believe it.
Somewhere in the Jegs warehouse, it was like that scene in Indiana Jones where some kid with like,
Right.
a sticky note is wandering deep into the recesses.
Far away.
There's no lights. There's strange
Nope.
noises.
But
you
honestly,
know.
that's one of the great things about racing something like a Ford Tempo, because they built like 3 million of these things over the course of 10 years, and they're all gone now. But there's a ton of new old stock parts. And
Rock
like we would
struts were $4. $4
yeah,
for a
like
strut. They're like,
$4
take it.
struts. Yeah, I
Nice.
know. Like they showed up and they're covered in dust. They've been on a shelf for 20 years, and they just want to get them out of there. $4. It's like $5 control arms with bushings, and it's amazing.
Well,
it's super cheap.
Back up and tell them the story. Tell them the story of the condition of the Tempo, your connection with the Tempo, and the condition of the Tempo when we got it.
All right. Yeah. I kind of imprinted on Tempos because when I was 15, 16, my dad leased an all-wheel drive Tempo, like the Holy Grail Tempo, the legendary all-wheel drive. And that was like one of the first cars I got to drive. So, as we get older, we all want to relive our youth. So I'm like, all right, well, I should probably try to find a Tempo. One popped up on Facebook Marketplace. It actually looked pretty good in the pictures. So we went to go look at it. We went to find this thing was abandoned in somebody's backyard, all grown up with grass everywhere. All 4 tires were flat, and we couldn't even get within 20 feet of it because of all the bees. The thing was full of yellow jackets. It was full of yellow jackets.
It sounds like a nightmare.
It had
we
a 1999 inspection sticker, I believe.
I think it was 98. Yeah,
98?
It expired in 98. And after we got it home, got all the bees cleaned out of it, we realized the reason this thing was parked was because one of the bolts for the alternator broke when they tried to replace the alternator. And that totaled the car because they didn't want to spend the labor to have someone drill out the bolt to replace the alternator. And that's what totaled the car.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
That means it was worth a lot
That car
to
was
start
something
with.
else.
Yeah. I feel like the B story, everyone's going to have a little bit of PTSD with that, because I've numerous times, I remember having a car in Colorado that I was stripping out, and, it's wintertime. I'm blissfully unaware, and I come across one of those giant wasp nests in it. And I stop what I'm doing, and then I put on my welding gloves, and I rolled the car outside. And as I do this, like I could see 1 or 2 of them like come out and kind of look around, but they're moving very slow because it's cold. And then I gingerly, quietly, and slowly disconnect the wasp nest, throw it on the ground, and start stomping on it right as they all started to come out. But it was winter time.
Brake cleaning.
Yeah, it was
Brake
winter time,
clean.
so they were moving
Brake clean and
really,
fire.
really slow.
Brake
Yeah.
clean and fire. Yep. Maybe some hot water, bleach.
See, everyone's got a wasp or a yellow jacket technique for their car, for their building their race car, because we've all had to do it.
Fire.
or
We used
it
all
was
the techniques in that car, all the techniques.
ours just happened to be in the front of our house, but
Get a bush full of bees right outside the front door. It's terrible.
it was under
Anyway.
a tree. So
We had bees this summer in our wall of our house. It was bad. It was bad.
I don't
I
know.
just finally fixed all the damage.
Hmm.
Ugh. Hate
So
bees.
after
I
all
like
the
bees,
bees,
but I
after
hate wasps.
sure, after the Tempo race day, why did you decide that you wanted to do something so masochistic as the T drive? And just let's hear the story of the genesis of the T drive. How drunk were you?
Well, we blew up the engine at NJMP in 2022. Neil Lozzi was supposed to come and drive it, and we blew it up on test day. And so here we have a caged Tempo with a blown engine. What are we going to do with it? We thought, all right, well, we've got a Z-Tech 4-cylinder for one of the Focuses. Maybe that would be cool in it. All right, so that sounds kind of neat. But then on a ski trip, I was up in Vermont, and I drank a little bit too much at lunch, and riding the chairlift all by myself, I needed to think of something. And I thought, what are we going to do with this Tempo? And then I remembered seeing an article in Jalopnik or somewhere about how Ford had a test mule in the 90s of a Ford Tempo that had a transverse straight 8 engine in it that they called the T drive. And I thought, wouldn't that be amazing? Because that would just blow everybody's socks off. That would be amazing. How do we do that? I'm a motorcycle guy, so naturally I thought, well, we just get 2 4-cylinder motorcycle engines and stick them in there side by side. So I texted Greg from the chairlift and said, hey, what do you think about this? And that kind of lit the fire in his mind, and it just snowballed from there. It was, I ended up finding a pair of Bandit 1200 motorcycles in Virginia, and like within weeks I had them in my driveway and we were committed.
So I think we should add Dave by trade is a dentist. And my wife wanted to see him for a cleaning the following week after this conversation. And he looked at her before he finished talking to me and said, I apologize. I'm sending your husband on a really long, hopeless quest or something to that effect. Because he knew once he pushed me and poked me like this, that it was going to become like an obsession. And
he wasn't wrong. So
That's correct.
No. So I think when it comes to like telling the story of the T drive, there's like a few things that we should like get out of the way first. One is this is a hard story to tell on a podcast because even in person, it's hard to explain how it works. The second is that it was compartmental build because it was such a big undertaking that, you know, Dave and I had to split up tasks, which I don't like. I don't think he likes either. I don't ever want to do a build like that again, because to this day, when I look at aspects of the build, if it's something he did, I don't know it, and vice versa. And we built it in exactly almost 1 year. Like we started December of 2022. And, you know, and it was thrash. So there was times I was working on it, or there's times where I was at work and he's texting me pictures of what he's working on. So it was definitely a combined effort of both of us, but one hand didn't really know what the other hand was doing at times.
Yeah, or still.
Yeah, or still. And so one of the other things to mention too is, so back when the original Focus got wrecked, we built that second Focus in 6 weeks, and that was a thrash. We didn't miss a race. We came right back. And that was physically exhausting, but this build was emotionally exhausting because we were trying to do something that we weren't convinced was possible. And the more time and the more energy we had into it, the more like emotionally vulnerable we were, because everyone thought it was absolutely insane. My own wife is like, why are you doing this? I'm like, I don't know anymore.
I know. Every other work session, we would have to stop the work session because we came across an insurmountable problem. This will not fit. It cannot fit. And we would end the work session totally dejected and sad. And then we would kind of mull it over through the week. And we think, all right, well, why don't we try this? We come back the next weekend. What do you know? That kind of worked. And then we move on and we find the next insurmountable problem. It was just, it was like we were beating our head against the wall, trying to make these things fit and make them work. And again, it somehow came together. Greg, how did it come together?
So we came together at a T intersection. We went to the press conference.
Right. Sure, in a T.
When we first started putting the thing together, we just put our heads down and we're like, just started knocking off one problem at a time and kind of like engineering it backwards the way we kind of pictured it would be in our heads. And at some point, like in a project this long, you stop and you're just like, what the hell are we doing? Like, you just look at it, and still to this day, it'll be running and idling and driving around, and I'll just look at them and like, what have we done?
Yeah, I know. It's
real.
Now, like some of the problems we ran into was first, I didn't even measure the engine bay before I went all the way down to Virginia to buy these 2 Bandit 1200s. I just kind of thought, yeah, motorcycle engine's about that wide. It might fit. It'll fit. And by the time we got the engines out and we're like trying to sit them in the engine bay, we realized they can't go down very far. How can we get them down far enough so that we can see over the things? And like all the way up to the last weeks of the build, we're like, can we see over these things? Is this going to be just a paddock vehicle? Will we actually be able to race it? I don't know.
We were concerned about that. It was a legit concern. I think it's important to say before we get into the actual design of it, there was actually, in addition to all the craziness, there was like self-imposed constraints we put on ourselves to make it harder. So like
that's what you needed.
So I didn't know anything about the T drive before we started this. I never read the Jalopnik article. He read it, and he was like a big fan of Jeeves. I didn't know the T drive was a thing until he mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And so I'm kind of like getting caught up to speed. And then once we kind of like said, okay, well, what are we trying to achieve? And there's this whole like historical element to it because it was an actual concept car we're trying to replicate. So it had to be the Tempo. We had just swapped in the manual transaxle with new CV shaft. So we decided we had to retain the manual transmission we put into it. And it had to be a Transverse 8. And then on top of that, one of my big fears that kept me up at night was that in this arrangement, like the flywheel is in line with the driver. And for us, it has to be safe. Even after pay goes okay, for me, I'm like, I was concerned that whether we could keep it safe or not, because there's a lot of chains and shafts spinning around in an engine bay. And the whole thing's a goof, and I just didn't want anybody to get hurt. And so we put a lot of time into trying to figure out how to keep everyone safe. And it seems to have paid off so far. I have all my fingers.
Yes. I like that.
All right, so you've got two Bandit 1200 motors. You've got an idea. This is to be a Transverse 8 T drive in the front of a Tempo. Okay, how? And I've seen it, and I still can't explain it very well. But you've seen it a whole lot more.
Or for people that have not seen it, don't know what it is, or saw that one picture of it on track and don't really have a good clue of what it looks like.
Yeah, I know there's a Lemons World video coming out on it, but I don't think it's not out yet, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. Right.
Well, starting with the engines technically are not connected together. Like the crankshafts are completely independent. It's two independent motorcycle engines, 4-cylinder banks just lined up side by side. They still have the motorcycle transmissions attached to them and everything. It's just, we literally took the engines out of the motorcycles and propped them into the front of the Tempo. We have two short chain runs that go from the motorcycle engines to an intermediate shaft that is mounted low and in between the shock towers. So that shaft receives the power from both of the engines. Then we have a longer third chain that runs from that intermediate shaft to a second shaft that is attached to the original Tempo transmission. So that's how power is transferred. Two separate shafts. Basically, that second shaft replaces the crankshaft of the original Tempo engine, so that it's basically spinning the flywheel in the bell housing of the original Tempo transmission. So once everything is spinning and operating, we operate the car just like a normal car. We've got a foot clutch, we've got a hand shift, and we got a steering wheel. We drive it just like a Tempo. The issue is getting everything started, because we have to start the engines while they're in gear independently of each other. We've got two clutch levers on the steering column to operate the motorcycle clutches, but we don't use those when we're driving the car. We use it only when starting. So that makes sense, right?
There is no fail in this plan.
How many feet of chain is rotating in this thing at any point?
It's about a chain and a half from what would be on a motorcycle. It's not a lot.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right.
So I can actually go through, and I prepared. I can try and speed through it. If anybody really wants to like make their own, they can follow the recipe.
No one does, but okay.
Honestly,
unless you say you should.
You guys are really selling how great it is too.
As much as you love this community, why would you do that to them?
You have no sensor issues.
Yep. I do have a question about operating it. What gears do you put the motorcycle transmissions into? Like,
we want to know.
Yeah,
you don't know?
We thought that fourth gear would work great, but for visibility issues, we run one in fourth gear and one in third gear.
Why does that change your visibility?
Because the chain length, we don't have quite enough adjustment in the chain length for the first chain run down to the intermediate shaft. we adjust that by tilting the engine up and down. And when the red engine, the right side engine, was properly tightened, it was too high and we couldn't see over it. So we decided to change the countershaft sprocket on the engine to something a little bigger, so that we could lower the engine and still have the right chain tension. But as a result, to get the gearing sort of right, we put that one in fourth gear and the other one in third gear. So
My brain hurts.
So they're pretty close
Chris,
in
Okay, so
RPM.
you've got two engines that are running at different RPMs in
Oh.
different gears driving your car.
To be fair, Mental, one engine has 100,000 miles on it and the other has 50. So who knows which one's doing more work?
I cannot sleep now. I will not be able to get to sleep ever again. Oh,
No wonder you guys are stressed out.
So really, but when we built it though, we had a sketch on like a piece of paper or a couple of napkins. I still find them around like the shop and the house.
Oh,
of,
no.
like,
Then you
how we
just start
thought it was
shaking.
gonna
You're
work.
like, oh no, oh no.
And we'll find those things around, but really at some point we had to roll up our sleeves and we had to just start building the thing. And so the first step of building it was we just basically built like it was a motor plate to mount to the bell housing. And we put a scatter shield around that to like keep things in if it didn't work. And then I got a Ford 9-inch axle shaft, which they make cut to length ones that are like fully splined. So we cut it to whatever we want. And everything we tried to overbuild for safety. And we ended up, we went to Brendan Bradley, who has the Ecotech Chryslers. He machined a Focus flywheel to fit on the end of the axle shaft. So you have a flywheel on the end of an axle shaft now in the bell housing. And it's got a Hyundai Sonata.
Like you do.
Yeah, Hyundai Sonata friction disc because I had the right number of splines in diameter. It's a
Focus flywheel. It's a Focus flywheel and pressure plate, but the friction plate is the Hyundai one.
Yep.
Sure,
And
as one does.
I think so then we mounted a Ford 9-inch axle end to this transmission plate because there's a tapered roller bearing to take the thrust from the diaphragm clutch. So yeah, the tapered roller bearings there to keep from jamming up the rest of the system. On the other end is a Ford 9-inch spool with a YZF 600 rear sprocket pressed onto it. And then that spool is supported by a Peterbilt 1981 Peterbilt 359 center drive shaft support. And so that kind of like makes our input shaft that goes into the transmission, if you will, and the engine sit above that. And then we put a strut tower brace behind the engines, and that suspends, and it's like 1.5 inches. It's a big 1.5 inch keyed shaft because really we're running theoretically 200 horsepower through a keyed shaft. So we just wanted big because we don't know, we're not engineers, we don't know the math for that. So
More.
No.
That's it.
No
More.
math.
well, here's the thing: is it all weighs too much. But it's like if we were to go back knowing that it works now, would I spend the money for like a rifle drilled lightweight go-kart axle? Sure. But at the time, it seemed like a lot to spend for something that might not ever move under its own power.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
so
truthfully,
if you're sitting there in your garage right now listening to this, going, "Gosh, how do I get the seat out of this car?" Shut the hell up.
we make
You're
it
not
sound,
just looking at different parts. You literally have 4 different like genre of vehicles. There's motorcycle, there's car, there's a Peterbilt in there.
And
built
so much of
itself.
it came from eBay Motors.
Oh,
yes.
thanks for
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Good plug. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
In fact, the eBay Motors part of eBay is the only part of eBay I use anymore.
Yep.
Oh,
All right. So I remember when you had it at Jersey the first time, when you were
Mhm.
just seeing if it was going to work at all. You couldn't start one motor because was it the exhaust was backflowing into the other motor that it wouldn't start? Do you remember? I'm curious how that problem was
I think
solved.
that was a car problem, Dave, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a carburetor issue.
Okay.
We still have car problems.
Yeah, it's we decided to run these pod filters on the carburetors. The fact that these are CV carbs They're very sensitive to intake velocity, and the pod filters lets way too much air in, and the slides don't lift at the right rate, and they just run like garbage unless you totally restrict the airflow, which is what we ended up doing to race it by covering the pod filters with tape so that only like a tiny little bit of the air was allowed to slip through, and they actually ran okay that way. But that was the issue. It was not an exhaust backflow issue, which we feared because they both fed into a common log. And I thought, okay, if we start one, is it going to create so much back pressure that we can't start the other one? And do we have to start them at the same time? But it turns out that's a non-issue. It was, we can totally start them.
I love that. Okay, so we've got these chains and the straps. We have to adjust the height of the engine. So we'll get a smaller sprocket. We'll do that. We'll get a part from a diesel semi-truck, blah, blah, blah. Oh, they're not starting. Hey, grab the tape.
I mean, yeah.
So I think that was like a self-inflicted wound there because we knew the exhaust design was bad. It's all the primaries come down, and then right under the hood, there's two log manifolds that face each other and kind of just turn down at the last second. And we're like, this is so bad, but we were out of time and energy and materials and hope. So we're like, that'll be fine.
Probably
But
fine.
that's something that we will go forward and revise the exhaust. The exhaust ended up working in New Hampshire, and it eventually did crack, which we knew it would. But that was always like a not great part. The intake and exhaust and carb setup really was the Achilles heel of the first version of it.
So, just speaking, unfortunately, of running out of time and all that kind of stuff, we do apologize. When are we going to see this thing again?
Next 2025.
Yep.
We're thinking New Jersey 2025 with a bunch of improvements, and we're gonna put the hammer down with this thing, see what breaks.
I want to know what it's like to drive. And I remember in New Hampshire, you guys, you took it easy Saturday. You're going, then you go a little faster, and then you're going a little faster, and then Sunday, that's still going. No one can believe it. It's still going, and like you guys start to lean on it a little bit. I was amazed. So like, what is this ridiculous thing like to drive?
Honestly, the harder you drive it, the better driving it is, because
you're
able to. Yeah, it's hideous in the pits. It's awful because the engines are totally fighting each other. There's 3 chains, and they're all taking up all the slack independently of each other. They're all fighting each other. I mean, you'll just be driving around 3,000 RPM. The engine's screaming. The chains are slacking and going bang. It sounds awful. I mean, that's why we didn't even drive it properly at New Jersey, just around the pits, because we thought we were breaking things whenever those chains took up their slack. But once you get on track and you've got the hammer down, all the chain slack is taken up, and it becomes smooth, and it makes power, and you're shifting that EXP transmission like there's no tomorrow, and it's a beautiful thing.
So on Sunday, because of the carb issues, there was like a certain time of day and air density where it just ran better. And I happened to be in the car for that. And I said, let me do a couple flying laps. And when we actually had it, when it was running decent and it would kind of rev out a little bit, I mean, going up the hill, it would smoke the inside tire. It needed a limited slip differential in it. And it was cool because for those couple laps where we actually kind of had it on race pace, we're passing people and they're cheering us. They're fist pumping out the windows.
Yeah.
Going.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember on the back street, there was a guy that came out, and there's a video of it somewhere on YouTube from somebody else's car. And he comes up on the inside of us, and he's waiting for the pass. And then we start pulling on him, and he just does like a double take. And then we let off because I'm not going to race him into the corner. We were just doing laps. But I mean, it's got potential to be a legitimate C-class car, but that's probably about it for us.
Yeah.
That's crazy and
I
awesome.
understand that.
I will say that this is lit a fire in me because I really actually want to build an actual performance designed motorcycle engine car. So if anyone's interested in that, don't do this. Contact us. I'll give you a bunch of other ideas of how to do it properly without chains or anything.
I guess there's a reason why Ford didn't put the T-Drive into production.
There's a
But had
lot of
such
people that
promise.
would have returned this and said, this is a lot of effort to just make a car go. So I think I'm going to
It is a
return
lot of
this.
effort. Since we're running out of time, Dave, do you just want to do a quick run through on some of the shenanigans that surrounding the theme? Because that was half the fun.
That was half the fun.
You
We
guys lead
That's
into
decided,
half
it
the
nicely,
fun.
too.
yeah, we decided to be like exasperated Ford employees trying to get this thing to do something, anything, because we pretended well, probably didn't have to pretend that it was like a 10-year project at Ford that just wasn't producing any fruits. And I was the engineer slash marketing guy, and Greg was the exasperated mechanic, and we had Ron come in, and he was the race manager. And just all weekend we gave tours of the car. We had little amplified speakers so that we could do a press junket, a press reception with shrimp cocktail, and we
Charcuterie,
had,
I believe.
that's right, some charcuterie. And we had some focus group surveys that we handed out to everybody who would take one. And
How many people did your survey?
like 10, and I didn't even look at any of them afterwards.
Well, it was more than 2 because we did it. So I think
No, you were the 2.
oh, we were just the 2. Okay.
No,
Mental,
there was-
I don't know
there
where
was
mental
a
was.
table.
I had to go
There was a
charge my stupid EV.
Oh.
It didn't come with a cord. Like you couldn't just plug it into a damn
Yeah.
outlet.
Where it's
No.
funny. Yeah. The Polestar I rented totally came with a cord. And I'm like, oh, I could have had charcuterie. This had been
Oh.
different. Yeah.
Some semi-warm shrimp. Yeah, it was great.
But,
Oh, but
yeah, we
David,
had a good
you're
time with it. We got dressed up and we did the Ford Boardroom Theater. That was hilarious. My kids were laughing behind the camera. They thought it was hilarious. Other than the failed drug references, they probably shouldn't have seen.
Is
the
that
best
on
part.
your YouTube channel?
I
Yep.
believe it is. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to, yeah, we'll have to go find a link to that now.
All right.
It was good. You guys
So
did a good
yeah,
job.
it'll be back out, and we kind of have a punch list of ways to make it better than it was. I'm pretty sure as we fix things that weren't right from the get-go, we'll find where the real problems lie. So I'll be interested to see how far we get with it. But I think it's probably going to be, what do you think, Dave? Like a second car? It'll be a backup car to the Focus, and everyone, if you guys want to come, be overstimulated by a mechanical device, you can take it for a spin.
I think it's going to be a perpetual pit vehicle. We might get it on track one more time.
Although you said it sucks in the pit, so nobody's going to want to drive it in the pit.
Just wants to run.
We'll see.
Just freak show value.
Really stupid question. Is it street legal?
I wish it were. I have the title. It was signed in the wrong spot, and I
Oh.
can't track down the original owners. And so no,
Vermont
it is
loophole
not
is
street
closed.
legal. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Vermont
it's
loophole
a-
is closed.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be
Do you
surprised
have
if you.
friends in Tennessee?
Oh, that's a good question.
They
Maybe
have to be
Vegas is a
residents
good
of
place to
Tennessee,
put
but there
Pro.
is a Tennessee-ish loophole.
I feel like
Actually,
you
look
probably
at that.
it wouldn't go over well in New Jersey to see
Adam,
Adam,
is moving to Memphis, Greg. Adam is moving to Memphis. We can get a Tennessee plate.
Because I
Rolling
this,
that up to a
this,
Cars and Coffee would
that
be
this needs to show up in a Cars and
spectacular.
Coffee.
right?
That is,
Yes.
it is like a litmus test because
Got
everyone that walks over and goes, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Those are good people, and everyone's like, "What's the matter with you people?"
We joked about doing a Lemons rally in it until I spent a full hour in it on a racetrack, and I
No.
don't think I could do
Mm-mm.
more than an hour.
No, that's
Mm-mm.
almost as bad as when Roger McDaniel did it in his EV with the large Harbor Freight Predator generator in the passenger seat running the whole time.
The
Similar.
Jet
It's a
Electra.
similar
Oh my
experience.
God, I forgot about that thing. Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, that's a shame.
But good
Great.
times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's such a ridiculous car, guys. We always have so much fun talking to you. So
I
we
thought it
appreciate you
was
coming on here. It was
ridiculous.
great.
And now you have plumbed new depths of ridiculous. And that's from a guy who has spent 25 years being known as mental. Wow.
We have a bunch of interesting swap ideas for the Falcon, but I think this is a high water mark. I don't think we're going to be able to repeat this.
Yeah,
for-
this is a once in a lifetime situation. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't
I'm
think
hoping-
can your physical, not you physically, can you mentally handle more of this? Like, or should you, for that matter? You're talking about burnout. You're talking about how stressful this is, and you're like,
That's why they're taking a little break.
Oh no, I know, but I mean, like, I think it's okay if you call it and say this is the high water mark. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think I have no aspiration. I've heard that there is someone that apparently has a long resume within Lemons that it spurned them to try and come out of retirement for weird engine swaps and top it. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know who, but I've heard that there is something that's supposed to be more over the top than this coming out at some time in the future.
Look forward to it.
Well,
Can't wait.
yeah. Well, more power to them.
You know,
Right?
you guys
Good
are an
for them.
inspiration.
This,
Isn't that
this
so
will
nice?
this will not be an arms race. We're not going to do it.
Yeah, right. Good for them.
Turbo T drive.
See,
Make
but
it
now
stop.
I already know that they won't be the same turbos and they won't match, and one will make different boosts, and now I can't sleep.
Oh,
Well, there is an all-wheel drive tempo, and there's no reason why we couldn't get 2 more Bandit engines to drive the back axle.
See, then it's
Yep.
a capital
There
I
is. It's
drive.
Greg's
'cause
sanity.
a
That's the
T
reason.
on top of the T. That's
Both of
awesome.
your sanity.
There was a moment where I was like, what we really need is like a more modern liquid cooled EFI engines. And then I thought about the entire process and said, no, there's no way the outcome can be worth the amount of effort and heartache
Agreed.
that it takes. And these engines, I mean, there are spots where they clear each other and the car by 1/4 of an inch. And if we had the 3D scanned the car, we probably would have said, yeah, it's not possible. But we didn't know any better. So we just did it.
Everything fits if you have a welder.
And a sawzall.
And a plasma cutter. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, plasma cutter. I like that better.
Oh,
And alcohol. Yeah.
This is what
Okay,
happens when you let healthcare professionals try to engineer something mechanical.
Oh,
but we want to have you guys back because you guys wrote so much stuff in the notes, and there's so many great stories, and it legitimately is inspirational how you guys got there. And you do kind of use this as therapy, which so much of Lemons is just people that have to force themselves into an environment during the week and then allow themselves to be weirdos a few weekends out of the month. So I want to have you guys back on there, but I want, if you're just listening to this show, which like the kid that bought the Moon trailer, it texted me. He's like, he's like, I'm listening to your show now. And now that everyone's
Who's in jail for receiving stolen property?
yeah. He says now that I need to know the story of the Moon trailer. So I had to tell him that whole story and link to that episode. So we're picking up these listeners onesies and twosies. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking about trying to get to the racetrack with one of the amateur endurance racing organizations, and it seems like an insurmountable hill, it's not. Now, these are obviously 2 extremely intelligent, slightly disturbed people who just love making their life really, really difficult. But I mean, I'm reading through your stuff. You guys have, you're like me, liberal arts degrees in medical stuff, and you guys did this. So you, new listener, you can totally go rent a seat in a car, the Van and Ball or something, rent an outfit from Race Image and come racing. You and your buddies absolutely can buy that title issues Honda, have someone cage it, and come to the track, and you can do this. And yes, it's going to break and you're going to have a hard time, but you're going to come out on the other side of it feeling like, like the end of a marathon or something. You're like, oh, that was exhausting. When are we doing this again? This is I love this whole story.
The whole Lemons journey has been so fulfilling for us because I go there and I meet people that look at the world the same way I do, which never happens in day-to-day life. I think it's probably similar for Dave. He works in a clinical environment. You just don't have people that have the same curiosity for things. And we've done other things with other series, and we keep coming back because Lemons is our home. This is where we fit. This is where we socially feel fulfilled and enjoy spending time with other people. That's great.
Yes. Our tribe,
Wonderful.
if you will.
Yep. Found your idiots. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Well, moving on. Chrissy, what do we have
wait,
this week?
is it actually Chrissy that's going to give us just
Yep. Yep.
Oh, so
Yep.
many voices today. This is so
Everyone's
great.
so excited for just the tip, honey.
I'm pretty sure I even just did this, but since I just shoveled a whole lot because I don't have a snowblower because
You do have a snowblower. You just chose not to use it.
somebody that operates a snowblower was not here, and I will not use the death trap that is our snowblower. So I decided to shovel everything. It's very, very heavy. I had to remind myself the whole time about how the proper way to shovel. Also, it's a lifting safely safety topic week. So I feel like this fits pretty well. It's really hard to shovel and not twist. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think my back's feeling it a little bit, but the real answer is you're supposed to bend with your knees and making sure that you're lifting, like squatting and then lifting, which is so unnatural when you're trying to shovel, but it's the right answer. And not putting too much snow on the shovel. So today's snow was very wet and dense and sticky. And so basically, like, you could pick up a shovelful and then a half a shovelful because it was sticky on the end, and you end up picking up too much. So really be careful. It's a stupid way to hurt yourself. Watch what you're doing. Don't do too fast. Get a snowblower or a friend with a snowblower. That's even better.
If you need a physical therapist, see Dave.
Oh, okay, great. I might.
Yep.
I think it's
And
she's
Dennis
mice,
C.
but
Greg.
okay.
I will say today I shoveled here at the Cape, probably about the same amount of snow you had, also heavy and wet. But I went to get a snow shovel the other night because in Cape Cod, again, no snow shovels. And the one they had at the front at Walmart was a two-handled snow shovel. And I've never used one of these before. And I have to say, for the heavy wet stuff, this was fantastic. I'm going to share my screen and show you what I'm talking about.
You're that happy with your snow shovel that
I was really impressed with how easy to use it was for picking up really heavy stuff and to be able to throw it.
But does it have emotion?
So you hold the one hand with the one end, and the other handle goes up
Oh.
near the bucket of the snow shovel, and that way you can pick it up more easily.
Click on
And
the
you can,
picture below it because it shows that somebody using it.
yeah.
Is
Oh.
the
And so
second
that way,
handle rigid or does it pivot? It's rigid.
the one I
right?
had was pivot, did have a pivot, and it was a flexible arm on that handle, so you could move it around. So to throw it was really
Oh.
easy. You could back up and throw it, and because you had leverage on it, and it would move really easily.
And you
And I
didn't have
have
to
to
twist
say-
so much.
No, you didn't have to twist at all. You didn't have to bend over as far. You didn't have to pick up with your back as much. It really was an easier way to go. So
Well, your accident of it was a happy accident. You
yeah,
trying
when
to
you have to buy a
find
snow shovel on Cape Cod
in the middle of winter and there's
Right.
a snowstorm coming. So the fact that you
I'd
found
take
one
what
at
I could
all
get,
is
and
pretty
this one
great.
worked. Yeah, the two handle thing worked great. It's a crappy shovel that, like, the bucket on the end wasn't actually screwed in. So if you lifted too much on one side of it, it would flip down and you have to straighten it back
Oh,
out.
good.
That was
That's
no
great.
good. But
No,
yeah.
great.
Anyway,
Well, you gave a great PSA for a great
I
shovel.
tried to give a great safety tip for that. Wouldn't that be nice?
That's
Everything's
great.
coming two motorcycle engines, two handles, two everything.
Yep. Oh, that's good. Guys, thanks for being with us today. This was fantastic.
Yes, thanks for having us. This was a lot of fun.
You guys
We
are
look forward to
awesome.
seeing you guys at a race soon.
Do you guys know
Yeah.
what you're doing next week?
We'll see you at Pitt. I know we won't see the tempo, but we'll see you guys at Pitt.
I think we're not going to
Oh.
be at Pitt, but we'll definitely be at New Jersey.
But Pitt is soon, and that means you have to
Ah,
wait
it's
even
soon.
longer to get to the race.
That's
I'll,
true.
I'll be honest. We're going to try and do Pit with Lucky Dog in the fall. Try Lucky Dog for the first time.
Oh,
Okay,
you'll
fun.
love
good.
it. You'll love it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Friday night's
fantastic.
taco night. It's great.
We love Lemon's Pit, but it is so cold and snowy. And yeah.
Except for last year that it was amazing.
It's
Yeah,
it's
of
only
course.
like 80% cold.
And
And 40%
sometimes.
40.
And yes,
Right.
yes.
Of course. Duh.
All
well.
right. All right. So
thanks, guys.
next week we are just a few weeks away from the opening of Formula One racing at Bahrain, which means that we will be doing our annual F1 pre-season episode, which means we're probably going to guess things and be totally wrong. But you don't have to listen to those analysts. You can just figure out what we think, and then you can tell us we're wrong. We also have a Formula One fantasy league. We're going to do it at Fantasy GP like we did last year. This gives us some engagement. We get to chat. We get to do your picks. Join us again this year. There's a code 74259. It is on our Facebook. I already posted it there. And we will link it in the notes, and join us. See who wins. There's no money. There's nothing but props if you win.
Yep.
Yeah, last year's
Unless it's
winner
Bill.
didn't even identify themselves.
Correct.
Oh, well. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Great.
You
Well,
have
thanks for downloading, everybody.
you have music.
We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. Hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, building, because everyone can be a racer. Even two lunatics in healthcare decided to make a T-Drive tempo. So if you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and give us that 5-star rating. I don't care what you thought, 5 stars, and tell us why. If you have any show ideas, comments, emotional outbursts, put them anywhere we have things on the internets and stuff, or give us feedback in person if you see us, whatever. We love it. Mental wants pictures of your junk. Text him those pictures at 484-243-0455. And I guess that's about it. So thanks again, everyone. Until next time, keep the motorcycle engine sticking out through your hood up, or unless you break a shaft or a chain, then, do the best you can. Thanks.